So, new Rockstars dropped a deep dive breakdown of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which obviously it's an amazing movie and I definitely recommend it. And we're going to be talking about spoilers, so obviously if you're not watching or if you haven't watched it, go watch it and then come back to this video and watch it. Or you could watch this without me and I'll probably leave it like in the the description. That way you can watch it. But we're gonna be checking out this new Rockstars Deep Dive.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
You love the British Rock Spider-Man? Yeah, he was actually pretty fire.
Animated sequel.
He's like such a rebel.
Into the Spider-Verse, a movie filled with Easter eggs, cameos, and incredible attention to detail. I'm gonna break this movie down frame by frame to point out
but they missed the point
details that you might have missed.
But
I revisited and broke down the 2018 film.
You should probably change your stream title to say spoiler alert.
Across the Spider-Verse on the Deep Dive channel.
Yeah, I should probably do that. Give me 1 sec.
To the deep dive,
there we
support
go.
us with a
It's already
multiverse dive shirt over at
updated.
nerdriot.shop. And whoa, hey, look at that! I'm already wearing it right now. I'm gonna wear this shirt until I'm bleeding from my armpits. Okay, over the opening glitching logos for Sony, Columbia Pictures, and Marvel, there is a brief Miles from his name tag in the 2018.
Yeah, like there's like so much.
And the Lord and Miller logo has their crest glitching to an old-timey fine mustaches ad with the faces of the producers themselves.
I love that.
And as with the 2018 film, we actually open with the approved by the Comic Code Authority stamp, which was put on comics covers in the 50s
so
to reassure parents that the comics wouldn't glorify crime or corrupt their kids' minds. We open with
seriously?
Gwen Stacy. This
I didn't know that was like the reason why they put that seal.
It's Miles's. She says, "Let's do things differently this time," telling Miles' story third person instead of the first person perspective of the introductions of the first film. We see the selfie of Gwen and Miles that she had on her phone.
Yeah, like her backstory was fire.
Parker's legs
it's a fire backstory.
The bus seats behind them. This was on their bus ride back, the first time they really connected. And we see Gwen drumming as a member of her band, the Mary Janes, setting up the wild drum solo music that we hear over the closing minutes of the movie as Gwen reassembles her new band. But during Gwen's solo here, we see flashes of Miles' life from the first film, but also his upcoming battles with Miguel and the Spot.
We never got that. We never got that
overture or a prologue for the events to come. This is Gwen's home universe, Earth 65, and the animators designed it to have a pastel watercolor aesthetic. It looks so great. The paint strokes flood into each other.
It's like freaking that shock face.
Lines and boundaries of the other realities. On the subway, Miles appears in the windows, recalling the 2018 film when Stan Lee appeared as an angelic presence on passing trains, which really hit hard back then because it was just a few weeks after Stan died. Gwen remembers before Miles when there was her Peter Parker. This Peter's voiced by Jack Quaid. In her flashbacks, Gwen has longer hair because this was before Miles stuck his hand to her hair and she had to shave it. Gwen flashes through several meals that she, Peter, George, and Aunt May prayed for, including one that might be Halloween. Peter dresses as a dinosaur or a lizard. Gwen in a traffic cone shirt. George is a cowboy. And they're all eating, what is that? Bagels! This is the cursed food that led to the Spot and in 2022 became the symbol for the multiverse.
Yeah, it's like obviously like this is the crazy thing about this. Like when they were like saying the bagel, like the bagel effect, like I was seeing this like on my YouTube, like the fact that they were talking about the bagel effect and how it recurs with what's it called, the multiverse and all that. And I recently rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I definitely recommend because obviously it's like a goofy, but it talks about the multiverse movie, and it's so strange like how it is, like literally like the figurative speech for the multiverse contain is a bagel, and that is very, very wild. Like when I saw that, like they were saying, oh, like I put it all in a bagel. I'm like, wait, they said that this is a bagel, and then going back to the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and they're saying, oh, this is all because you threw that bagel at me, and they're saying bagel, like, is there a cross reference with this? And they're saying that it is. Like, it's a definite mind blown right there. Can't wait for Spider-Man Miles kissing the spiders in the spider. What?
With Everything Everywhere All at Once. The bully that roughs up Earth 65 Peter isn't Flash Thompson, it's Ned. As in the Spider-Gwen comics, this Peter becomes the lizard, thus his Halloween costume, which we actually saw at the end of Gwen's backstory in the 2018 film. And
this is what's gonna happen with Tom Holland. He's like, obviously we have a Ned in that, what's it called, the that universe, so obviously he's gonna bully Peter. He's gonna be like, damn it, I've had it with you, I'm gonna become the lizard and Gwen is gonna take over.
And then we hear the voice of J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson reporting
Walter White.
George Stacy is leading the manhunt for Spider.
He's everywhere.
Voices J. Jonah Jameson in several different realities in this movie, including the Lego universe.
I
later.
love this scene so much.
It's a freaking Nexus Bean, I'm telling you. In the Stacy family home, Gwen is watercolor painted blue and an otherwise pink wash, showing her depression.
The detail
Her
was
room,
awesome,
the sanctuary, is
saying
also
like the
blue like she is,
emotions.
but her dad, in
Everything
orange
was awesome.
and fuchsia, wears a faded Visions Gymnastic Academy sweatshirt, suggesting he might have once done cheer and probably coached Gwen's acrobatics when she was young. He's a good papa. Gwen has replaced her teal ballet slippers with teal Chuck Taylors, which she reportedly got from Hobie Brown. So I don't know, maybe they met before Gwen teams up with Miguel and Jess in the Spider Society. When Gwen hugs her dad, the blueness of her room warms into pink watercolors. Sometimes
that's what I loved about it. Like, obviously, like I was like checking like the backstory that she had, like how she became like with her tragedy. Like, she obviously mentioned it in the first film, saying that, oh, this is my tragedy of how I became how I am now, and obviously explains it now here. And what I loved about this film, like in the beginning, was the transition of how colors were being portrayed. Like, it was basically emotions that was being showcased. Like, you would see like the sadness, you would see the light, the warmth. Like, obviously with this imagery right here, like the hug, the warm hug from a parent, that everything will be fine. Like, you have that comfort, and the blue showcasing the darkness and the sadness.
it's all it takes
Imagery.
to change your whole world.
That's why I loved it.
Gwen's
It's like, what's it called? Talking to my parent. You were saying you saw the trans flag while watching the film. Now you hate Gwen. Oh my gosh, it's not that deep.
And some of you are mad now. And if that pisses you off, feel free to stop watching. I don't need reviews. Spider-Gwen webs up her dad.
Damn.
How's the manhunt for me going?
Yeah, she lowers her voice just like Miles does when he is
Like, I don't get that. Like, I don't get why people were mad. Bro, it's just a movie. Just literally, like, it's just a movie. It's just to have for enjoyment. It's not supposed to be, what's it called, such a big picture. Like, if they wanted to do that, like, they could have done that. Like, they've literally doing it with the live action. Like, you're literally seeing, like, the roles. Like, they're picking, like, their selects when it comes to live actions. Like, look at it how it is.
masked, and he talks
And
to
they're
his
basically
dad.
showcasing their...
Now the Vulture she fights glitched here from another universe.
They're
He's named
showcasing their
Adriano Chumino instead of Adrian Toombs. Voiced
message.
by Yorma Tacone.
Crap,
His
I was about to
design
freaking
and
forget
sepia
it.
color tone and his papery texture is based on Leonardo da Vinci's sketches. I like how when he fires
But,
weapons,
like,
da Vinci
everyone has their own views.
instructions appear around him. He lands in front of the Jeff Koons retrospective
That was
exhibit.
sick.
This is a real exhibit at the Guggenheim with balloon animal fixtures made from stainless
That,
steel.
like, when
So
they cut
basically,
it,
this is a
it
Renaissance
had
era
mini
artist
ones. That was
disgusted
so
with
adorable.
postmodernism. It's just kind of an art joke. He says, which translates to "Bye, girl" on the screen, but Gwen is saved by Miguel O'Hara, voiced by
The
Oscar
GOAT.
Isaac, Spider-Man 2099 from Earth 928, who first appeared in the 2018 film post-credit scene. Gwen says,
I'm sorry, who exactly are you supposed to be?
Isn't it obvious?
The Blue Panther.
That's funny.
The caped
The
Blue
Blue
Satyr?
yes, Blue Panther, reference to Black Panther with similar claws, caped Blue Satyr, reference to Batman, caped
So that indicates
Crusader
that
with similar
in
brooding.
Gwen's,
When he's introduced with this comic, it
what's
lands
it called,
on the
universe,
stack of
there is a
comics
Blue
of
Panther.
all the other Spider people we've met, including all the ones in the first film in the order that we met them. I just like how this stack is cumulative. Miguel shames her and the others for breaking the multiverse in the last movie, and then he says,
He started on Doctor Strange and the little nerd back on Earth 1999.
Who's Doctor
That's what I love
Strange?
about
Sounds
that. Like,
he
they
maybe
made a
should
reference
practice
to
medicine.
Tom
Yes,
Holland.
Earth 1999 has in the past been the numerical designation for the MCU films and the shows, but this was thrown into question when Christine Palmer called it 616 in Multiverse of Madness. I made a video proposing that the MCU deserves neither designation. Vulture reassembles his wing, and Miguel complains, he's got hammer space. And then we see an editor's note text window popping up, defining it as an infinite extra-dimensional storage area for cartoon hammers and the like. This is
Oh, yeah,
how
I
that
love the
Spider-Ham
fact that they're
mallet
doing
gift
that.
to Miles that he said could fit into any pocket and not take up any space. Miguel's
I
digital
love
assistant
that.
is Lila, voiced by Greta Lee, and she calls in Spider-Woman Jessica Drew, voiced by Issa Rae. Her yellow goggles match the shape of her yellow eyepieces in the comics. Overall, she has the red,
The
black,
fact
and
that, like,
yellow
she was
color
using,
scheme
like, her
she does.
motorcycle
And
for
yes, she
fighting
is
was
pregnant.
awesome.
Are you,
Oh, this? We don't know the sex yet. My husband wants it to be a surprise. He's really corny, but so hot.
Jessica Drew is pregnant in the comics. leading
Yeah,
up to the
look at
Secret
that.
Wars event, and we do not meet
Fighting
her
with the
husband
baby in
this
the
movie.
belly.
Presumably we will meet this interesting
Freaking-
character
can
in
it
the
get any
third
better
movie
than that?
Beyond the Spider-Verse coming next year. Now, when the Vulture falls, he hits a beam, and then text says, "Notte notte." which is Italian for night night. And the three of them stop the helicopter from crashing over the bystanders,
sick.
and one looks up at it and says, yeah, I think it's a Banksy, which is a callback to the same exact soundbite from the 2018 film, the vocal cameo by Post Malone.
Yeah, I think it's a Banksy.
So Captain Stacy holds his daughter at gunpoint, and she unmasks herself, and the watercolor brushstrokes smear down behind them, just a cool way of showing their whole
imagery.
world melting. Miguel and Jess invite Gwen out of pity to join the Spider Society, and they leap through these hexagonal portals, hexagons being a recurring shape in the MCU to show rifts through space and through dimensions. So on to Earth 1610, Brooklyn.
Beyond the Spider-Verse is the next film.
Yes, I love it. We follow this spot.
That's basically the post credits that they were giving off.
Game over. So the Spot peels off one of his
Bro, the Spot is such a goofy
to open a
character,
portal into this ATM,
but he's
he
gonna be
fails.
so
At one point, he runs
overpowered.
his own hand to the side and he hurts his knuckles. But when he finally reaches in, notice how the $100 bill has a different face than Benjamin Franklin? Thought this might be director Joaquin Dos Santos, I'm not exactly sure. And in addition to calling it an ATM machine, the Spot says pin number, which is also redundant since N stands for number already. Now, Miles cuts away from this to recap the past year. The sequel, I believe, is set 1 year and 4 months after the first movie. Among the
So it's 1
appears
year.
to be the
So of course you would have
Leapfrog. He says he
what's it
hosted
called?
Jeopardy with categories
The Venom
including
power.
Arachnidiums, Spider Sense and Sensibility, the Wide Web World, and Thwippet. We
Thwippet.
learn he endorsed baby powder, which is a callback to Peter B. Parker's advice in the first film to use baby powder to get in and out of the suit. Then he has to apologize in the YouTube
That's
video.
so
And we see
adorable.
Miles adding to his No Expectations wall art mural all of his friends from the 2018 film. I love how throughout this movie, Uncle Aaron keeps coming back and back and back just to remind us how important he is to Miles' life and set up the big twist.
Well, basically, like, Uncle Aaron is like his Uncle Ben, because obviously, like, he was that uncle that, like, he's the chill uncle that will let you, like, express yourself rather than, like, your parents who, like, will keep you locked away from, obviously, the outside, like, saying that, oh, we gotta protect you, but obviously you have this uncle that, like, obviously wants to see what you're going to blossom into becoming, like, being better, basically.
In the final act of this movie.
That was his
This fight
Uncle
with
Ben.
The Spot causes him to be late to his parent-teacher conference, flying through portals in the background and catching a goose, which is a callback to when Miles got stuck to 2 pigeons in the first movie. And when they fly through a blue portal, following them is another bagel, the symbol of Jonathan Owen's pain and his rage toward Miles. I like how on
bagel.
Jefferson's phone text history,
Nah, but
he
when
wrote in
Miles
all caps,
was the
"This is
prowler, he looked goated."
And then he tried to
Yes,
correct
dude, that was
in
freaking
important,
fire, like-
and then finally gets it right, important.
In
Miles
another
fights with the
universe,
Spot on a rooftop,
he could have been
dodging
Prowler.
punches and kicks. At one point, squeezing between a punch and a kick, essentially threading the needle. I love it. Miles pats the Spot on the head, and red text reads, "Good cow," because with all the spots, he looks like a Dalmatian and a cow. And then Miles and the Spot
Or a
tumble
zebra.
into the foam party cafe, having a literal foam party with all the suds and bubbles and that goose squawking around. This is the same cafe that Jefferson pointed out at the beginning of the 2018 film, the one with the
Foam
long line,
party.
as the neighborhood was being gentrified. Miles returns to his Brooklyn Visions Academy dorm room, where his roommate remains, Ganke Lee, who is Miles' buddy in the Ultimate
Genki.
Comics, but this character in the 2018 film had all of his dialogue cut. The character is now beginning lines and aged up in physique and in voice.
I'm not your guy in the chair.
Are those my Jordans?
I can't help it if we're the same size.
Guy in the chair, a reference to
But
Ned Leeds,
there
James
was-
Madeline's character in the MCU,
Is he gonna
being
explain
Tom
it?
Holland, Peter Parker's Guy in the Chair in Spider-Man Homecoming, and the character of Ned in the MCU
Please
was
tell
really
me
just based
he
off of
goes
John
with
K. Lee from
the-
Ultimate
the
Comics.
talk,
Now,
though.
Genki Lee is voiced in this movie by Peter Sohn, director of Pixar's Elemental, and is also the voice of Socks in Pixar's Lightyear.
that's
This is
sick.
one of the co-directors of this movie.
We got
Ted Powers,
Socks.
director of Pixar's Soul. I like how they just keep it in the family, even though Peter Sohn's
I'm waiting
Elemental
for it.
is going to be in direct competition with Across the
Come
Spider-Verse
on,
in the
please
month
tell
of
me
June
you
at
got
the
that
box office.
reference
Day to
or
day, all these
Easter
animators
egg.
just love and respect each other. I love it. So Miles finally arrives at the parent-teacher conference where
He didn't talk about it. Oh my gosh. He didn't talk about it. So I think he was going to talk about it in the next video. What? You said you saw the guy who was playing PS and he was actually playing Miles Morales the game. No, like what they were playing is the next Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. Cuz in the teaser that they were talking about, like before Spider-Man 2 got really revealed, you saw Spider-Man with the mechanical, forearms from the Iron Spider. And I'm like, bro, like my brother was even pointing out, he was like saying, look, like he's playing Spider-Man. He's like, wait, really? And then I see Spider-Man, like he's like fighting, and then he, like his forearms, the robot hands, like come out, and they're like, oh crap, that's Spider-Man 2. He's already playing the game before it even comes out. What a freaking mind blown. You thought it was
his
Miles?
teacher is voiced by Rachel Dratch.
Close, it was close.
Miles' grades are pretty good. A in AP Physics.
That's my little man.
But like I said,
And
they're
a
probably gonna
B
talk
in
about it in
Spanish.
the next one.
Ooh, okay.
Miles.
Are you trying to
Mira,
kill
eso
your
es
mother?
imposible.
I love how Jefferson tries to place that cat-themed desk ornament back together, but he fails.
And it falls.
The teacher's eyes just dart over,
It's
but she just
broken.
keeps talking anyway. It's kind of like in Iron Man 2 when Tony Stark obsesses over that thing on his desk. We learn that Miles is excelling at AP Physics because, like the MCU Peter Parker, it just helps
They're
any
just
Spider-Man
smart.
to know physics and trajectories and motion. But Miles B in Spanish is met with outrage from his Puerto Rican mother, and when she snaps, it forms a little Puerto Rican flag, like the sting of his mother's
Oh,
snap.
that's
Hits him with
sick.
the full might of his Puerto Rican heritage. So Miles leaves
The little
guidance
things that you
counselor's
see.
office to rejoin his fight with the Spot, which tumbles into Wilson Fisk's old Alchemex Collider site, the location of the showdown of the 2018 film. But it's now under construction with this canopy made of reflected panels, reminding me of the dome that
It
was
looked like
constructed over
water.
the Chernobyl site. Based on this "Pardon Our Mess" sign, it looks like Alchemex are the ones actually cleaning it up. Maybe they're continuing to have some nefarious plans here. Like, you would think the government would be like, you guys aren't allowed anywhere near this. So the Spot explains his backstory, and we see the Earth 42 spider that bit
Miles has
Miles,
his
but
BLM
in its
badge
Earth
on
42
his back.
reality, right before it left,
Like I'm telling
it was
you,
going
like,
to
the
bite
little secrets that
alternate
you see.
Miles. You can see his hair in braids. This is foreshadowing the Miles we see in the third act of the movie.
The one that could have been Spider-Man. This is the one that could have been Spider-Man. This Miles. So the Miles in that universe, which is basically the one that we're talking about, Prime one, he would have been nothing. He just would have been that character that just has their Spider-Man. That's crazy.
The big twist.
How much
telling
it
us that in
changes.
that reality, it was not going to be a Peter Parker who got bit. It was going to be a Miles Morales. The
Yeah.
Spot reveals that he was the one who got struck with that hilarious bagel action word. I love that they brought this guy back. So between Owen being the source of Spider 42 coming into 1610 and Miles being the source of the bagel incident, they really did create each other. The Spot trips and he
That's
kicks himself in the
crazy.
butt through a portal. It looks like one of the pieces from debris from the hex tiles kind of looks like the rectangular USB drive from the first film.
It just
The
got
trip
burned.
mirrors Miles
Boom.
tripping on his shoelaces when he was running across the rooftop for his jump test. That is what broke the USB drive. And it
Yeah.
kind of was the embarrassment early in his arc that motivated the rest of his story. So similarly for the Spot in this movie, his embarrassment here is really what unlocks the next stage of his hero's journey.
Yes, and obviously this man is gonna be very powerful because, like, I don't know, like, what teaser it was that they showcased, but he's gonna look like Anti-Venom. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen a picture of Anti-Venom, but like, he's basically like how, like the Spot, like no spots on him, but he has the Venom teeth and the eyes, and I'm like, bro, he's gonna
He
be
finds himself in this inky hole
overpowered.
realm where all the dark matter has left
This
his
scene
body,
was crazy as
creating all
well.
these portals into the multiverse.
Miles should
The
have
first
had
he
braids
looks into is this
as
classic
his normal
animation
character.
universe
I mean,
from
he
the
could.
1940s with
I mean,
Ben
he already
Gay
saw
dots.
himself
There's
with
a woman
braids.
in a black and white polka dot blouse who hits him with her purse, her blouse matching the pattern of his skin. On the cinema marquee is a movie titled The Tall Man, coming soon. Then he looks into the Lego
The
universe.
Lego
calling
universe.
that Lord Miller's work on the Lego movies. We'll come back to this one. Then he drops
Oh,
by Chinatown
that's
of
one.
Earth 688 with Ms. Chen from Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage.
What do you want?
I'm robbing you.
Bro, dude, this was fire. Like, literally seeing this, like, saying, bro, this is already making, like, the concepts of all the movies that had, like, separate universes. They're all gonna accumulate into one. Like, we already seen it with No Way Home. We're gonna see way more. Like, we're gonna see Venom join in, Miles, everyone.
Because I'm a bad guy.
I love how unfazed Ms. Chen is. And the brand of gum he steals, if you look closely, is Brock's Venomint, a reference to Eddie Brock,
Venomint.
Venom. And this establishes Sony's Venom movies as Universe 688 and their system of organizing this. Spot looks at his hands and says, "The power of the multiverse in the palm of my hand," a nod to Doc Ock's line in
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 in 2004.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hands.
Which he echoes in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
the sun in the palm of my hand.
Back in the Legoverse, we see a text box, which is actually in the shape of a red Lego brick, labeling this Earth 13122.
I
This
want a
Peter
Lego
Parker, voiced by
Spider-Man
Nick
game.
Novicki.
Give
There's
me
a
the Lego
J.
Spider-Man
Jonah
game.
Jameson in this
Or give me
Daily
a
Eagle office,
Across the
and they use
Spider-Verse
J.K.
game.
Simmons' audio from the 2002 Sam Raimi film when he says,
Tomorrow morning, Spider-Man, page 1 with a decent picture this time.
so back in 1610, Miles cannot thwip when he's carrying cake boxes, so he has to ride a crowded train. Kind of like Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker trying to
Pizza time.
in Spider-Man 2 and having to take the elevator afterward. Miles has to hop off the track to quickly zap the villain, the Armadillo, and then Miles foils a thief stealing Nikes. He passes a bunch of gawkers, including this smiling dumbass with glasses.
This
is an
smiling
aged-up version of
dumbass.
that goofy student who smiles at Miles in the Visions Academy in the first film. Miles shows up late with the cakes to the rooftop party.
He just
having
wanted
changed
to
into his
call him a
basketball jersey,
smiling
number
dumbass.
42, Miles' number. The cakes are now wrecked. His heartfelt messages spelling
I'm not
out just,
proud.
"I'm not," and then proud. Jeff and Rio complain that Genki calls them by their first name, so later when Gwen does it, they really cringe. Miles refers to his
They
friends
really
Peter
cringe.
and Gwanda using Gwen's fake name that she gave him in the first film. Miles returns to his room where boxing gloves hang by the door, again reminding
His
us
uncle.
of his boxing lessons with Uncle
Yeah.
Aaron. There's also a Michelle Obama campaign sticker suggesting that in 1610 she was the Obama who held, or at least sought, public office. Whereas before it was Sunflower, the hot track of this sequel is Hummingbird by Metro Boomin and James Blake, which Miles chills out to here. Remember, the 2018 film
They
ended
didn't
with
wanna, like,
Miles
overplay
listening to
the song
Post Malone's
again.
Sunflower as Gwen opened that portal over his bed and asked if he has a minute, and this scene picks up with a similar moment, just like that. But a year has passed since the events of the first film, and notice how throughout this movie,
Dude, look at the animation that takes like within like 2 years, if I could recall. Like he said 20 no,
Miles has been
no like 2018, like 5 years I think. I'm not keeping track, but look at the detail from across the Spider-Verse and into the Spider-Verse. Like you could see like the amount of dedication that they give. Like this is the old version and this is new version. That's crazy.
been aged up a bit. A longer face, he's a bit taller, and he has longer hair. Floating around his
Did it
room
say the
a
song
bunch
was
of
called
trading
Hummingbird,
cards
right?
with these red
Yes.
and white balls on them. These are for Teriyakimon, the 1610
The one
version
that thought,
of
like,
Pokemon. And when they're
the
sitting on
artist
bed,
singing it
floating past
was
is a framed photo of Miles with his
Thundercat, but
Uncle
it wasn't.
Aaron, his mentor figure, who was shot by Kingpin in the 2018 film. And on Miles' shelf is an RC Spider-Mobile, which 1610 Peter had a life-size version of in the 2018 film. And
That's
above
it.
that, the specific photo of Miles' dad Jefferson and his brother Aaron that Jefferson had as his phone background, and this exact photo was framed in Aaron's apartment.
Yeah, listen
this
to
is
the whole
probably something
album
Miles
by
found
Metro
in his uncle's
Boomin.
apartment and moved to his
So,
bedroom. Also on
it's
the
great.
shelf on the left
I
side of the
loved it.
frame, Miles has this wooden moose. This is actually an Easter egg for Lord and Miller's 2021 film Mitchell's vs. Machines. This moose is a hugely important item to the
What?
Mitchell family. In that movie, Gwen finds Miles' sketchbook. Our man
The little
is lucky
Easter eggs
she
that the
didn't see
people
any
give
of the
off.
other drawings he probably drew of her in this. But over on the left, he kept a bus ticket stub. Hudson Valley Explorers Schenectady to Brooklyn Central. This was the bus ride home that they took after Gwen saved them from Olivia Octavius in the forest in the 2018 film. So Miles is scrapbooking his relationship
That's
with
what
her.
he is.
Miles and Gwen swing from construction
He
crane to
was
construction crane, just like Andrew
literally
Garfield
thirsting.
Spider-Man does at the climax of the 2012 Amazing Spider-Man film as they thread the needle between buses. Notice how this whole block is
The
just
music
colored in
was
pink and
great.
teal hues, a way of showing how Gwen's colors are tinting and shading this reality as her influence spreads throughout it. There's this awesome point of view shot from the truck driver. Miles swings on the right side, reflected in both mirrors, and then we turn to the right side mirrors as he flies behind the truck. And the exclamation points from his scream chase him, just like the "ah" from his fall in the 2018 film and the "woo" in the final act. I just love how Miles stays behind Gwen throughout this whole sequence, hiding his clumsy collisions and trying to come off as more confident than he really is. Really, though, just copying Gwen's moves, like hastily tying his web to his ankle. He tries to claim that he's learned just as much as she has, but really he's just actively
got
learning
venom
in this moment
powers.
from her. They
That's
pass
what's
the hot
awesome.
dog vendor, and we see the action word "take" on the hot dog swipe, but then Miles whips money from the
Boom.
vendor's chest. If you look closely, this is an alternate universe $25 bill. I love this. There's just a kid who
Oh.
mindlessly licks the window of the train
Yes,
with a
I was
big
like,
old smile.
why
I
is
think
he
he's my
doing
favorite
that?
character in this movie. I
It's
can
like,
watch
bro,
him on loop.
he's gonna
It's
get
just so
sick.
funny to me. Gwen plants a drone to spy on the Spot's apartment. Above it, I love this, is a billboard
bagel.
with a bagel. All of it, always, all over the place.
Dude, I'm already going with the fact that like for season 2 of Loki, which is dropping very, very soon. I think it's this month, or if not, it's like next month, I think. But they have to talk about the bagel, because if they're talking about the multiverse, and they've already mentioned it, something has to be with the bagel and Loki.
1610 version
I
of
need
the
a deep
bagel
dive
themed
of the
Everything
bagel.
Everywhere All at Once. This movie's animators clearly acknowledging the bagel parallel with Jonathan Owen. Miles and Gwen look out at the city, sitting upside down from the Williamsburg Bank building, creating such a trippy but great visual.
The
Gwen
bagel,
says,
the bagel,
In
bagel.
every other universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man. And in every other universe,
It doesn't go well, because
it
they
doesn't
die.
end well.
Not only is she referring to Earth 65 Peter's death as the lizard, she's also referring to the universes where Gwen Stacy famously dies in
Yeah.
the Death of Gwen Stacy arc, like we saw with Emma Stone in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh,
Back at the
God.
rooftop party, Miles and Gwen whip
Dude,
some
literally
food,
seeing
and
that
we see a
again
can
is
of Great
painful.
Drink, not my
Oh.
favorite Dave Chappelle bit.
A lot of black people don't have the privilege of knowing about grape juice because they have great drink. It's not the same formula.
After Miles' parents
Great
scare off
drink.
Gwen, we get this heartfelt moment between Miles and his mother Rio. The city they look out on has incomplete sketch lines in the distant background for the buildings. Kind of
They were
in the
lazy,
haze
they're
of
like,
the city.
screw
Just
it.
a really cool detail to suggest that the Manhattan skyline is a part of New York that Miles might not know as well, because really his home neighborhood is Brooklyn. Rio gives Miles the advice that he really needs for this whole
You need to
film,
complete
saying
the
that she hopes her son
main
never
mission
lets
to
anyone with
unlock
those
the
big, fancy,
sub-stories.
important places
And that's the
he's going
sub-story.
to be in tell him that he doesn't belong there. I think all of us can relate to feeling like an imposter or a mistake or told that we're not ready for the big leagues. And I think the third Spider-Verse movie will prove that Miles' anomalistic status is actually the rule all Spider people should live by. But it's just sad to think that this moment with Rio is the last time in this movie Miles will talk to his home reality mother. And his chat with Jeff earlier might be the last time he talks to his dad from any reality.
Yes, I freaking remember that. Like the fact of what they were saying, that it's a canon event that he has to die, and I'm like, bro, why do you have to tell him that? Like, dude, if the PS4 version didn't get me, what's it called, saddened over the fact that he was such a cool guy and the fact that he would protect you. Literally seeing him die twice would suck. It would ruin me.
Miles changes wardrobe as he descends a fire escape, unzipping his pants on the ground and seeing a dog walker and a dog, and then awkwardly re-zipping his pants back up. Then to Owen's apartment. We see from photographs that he was once a long-haired and bearded colleague to Liv Octavius. His spider containers are labeled Earth 42. This was the spider that bit Miles, which is now deceased because Miles swatted and killed it. But there are other containers labeled 14512, that's Penny Parker's universe, 333, 90214, that is Spider-Man Noir's universe, and 19925. This is a universe supposedly written by a bot. Miles jumps in after Gwen in the portal tunnel and lands
ChatGPT in this as well.
50101 Mumbattan, a cross between Mumbai and Manhattan. From above, its geography looks like the island of Manhattan, but greener, and what we think are the rivers are actually just the city's lower levels. The artist designed Mumbattan to keep going down and down and down, a contrast to 1610 and Nueva York, where the city just goes up and up and up. In Mumbattan, instead of the trains running
when I
on
saw
top
it, I
of
was
the
like,
tracks,
bro,
the cars
why is it
hang
so
below
high?
from the rail above them. Throughout Mumbattan, you can see signs for Zomato, which is a restaurant group in India, and here we meet Pav, Privateer Prabhakar, Spider-Man
Which is
India
Dupinder
Earth
from
50101,
Deadpool.
is voiced by Karen Sony, aka Dupinder from the Deadpool
Yes.
films. He spins his web shooter on a
He was
spindle
so
like a yo-yo.
fire.
It looks so cool. All the action words in 50101 are in Hindi. Like at one point we see whip in Hindi, and when Privateer hits the spot in the back of the head, it makes this Hindi word dadak, which translates to roughly bang or slam. And Privateer corrects Miles on the
TT.
common American
You want to call
chai
it
tea
TT?
mix-up.
I love chai tea. What did you
They put ChatGPT in the credits, by the way. What?
Chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea.
And I love how Miles
You're
is so
saying
distracted,
TT.
he spills the tea. It flows from the cup onto the table. Also, you could consider this a callback
You
to
think that they
Miles
put
correcting
it,
the spot on
bro?
an
If they
ATM
did,
machine,
like,
which is
that's
also
crazy.
redundant.
Like,
The N
how
stands
far
for
they would
machine
go for
already. So as these three fight the spot in Mumbattan, we see that his dark matter has filled in more of his body, so that he's gradually going more from white to black throughout this movie. He makes it to the Mumbattan
But he's gonna
alchemist
get
lab for its
nastier.
collider, and
That's
Miles
just
tries
a start.
to supercharge the barrier with this new move that he's working on. But Hobie Brown arrives, Spider-Punk, voiced by Daniel Kaluuya, and he
I did not
looks
know that
so
until I
cool
saw
in this
the-
movie, made up of different textures
Who
of
joined
paper,
in.
newspapers, and posters, but a lot of it is in the speed at which he moves. In the 2018 film, remember, Miles was initially animated on 2s, which means 12 frames per second instead of the normal 24 frames per second, giving him a more staggered, choppier movement. By the end of the movie, he was animated on 1s to show his evolution into smoother, more confident swings in 24
He's gonna
frames per
become
second.
60
Hobie in this
frames
movie
per
is
second.
deliberately animated, I guess you'd say on 4s? It looks like 6 frames per second. Really choppy movement, but intentionally staggered. A punk rock poster come to life. I love how this reflects Hobie as a character, a spider variant who makes a choice of being out of step with the other spider people, even more
Yeah,
grounded
he's the
in
rebel.
his own medium than Miles was. It shows Miles that there's another way to exist in this multiverse, an arguably more powerful way, because it forces the viewer to look at every single pose that you strike. Hobie says,
I'm a role model. I was briefly a runway model. I hate the AM. I hate the PM. I hate labels.
yeah, hate the PM, a bit of wordplay there, because wordplay is always very common in the Cockney slang, like later we see him say Scooby-Doo, meaning clue, but by PM, yes, he's saying he hates the time of day in the afternoon, but also he hates the PM as in the Prime Minister, as a punk rock music scene in the UK grew out of anger largely at Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Geology is a
Margaret
22-time
Thatcher.
award-winning skin, hair, and body care company recognized in Men's Health, Oprah Daily, Hypebeast, Birdie, Esquire, and GQ. Their products are built around
Oh,
just
they're gaming. What's it called? I thought it was like
Heal.
Oh,
On top of
reference
that,
it.
additional skin GE. The Spot activates the collider and
I don't get paid
fuses
for
with the
this,
dark
Mr.
matter, and
New
Miles'
Rockstars. I'm
consciousness
sorry.
briefly overlaps with Jonathan Owens. He sees a black and white future of Owens' plans to absorb all of reality and cause the deaths of police captains, with Inspector Singh, Gayatri's father,
Canon events.
and Miles' dad, Captain Morales, flickering back and forth as they rush to save a kid. So when Miles saves Singh, in his mind he's saving his own dad, but both are considered canon events that Miguel O'Hara wants to play out.
Yes, this is what now people are memeing about, saying that, oh my gosh, dude, what was it? There was like a meme that I saw saying I had to let this person die because it was a canon event, and they put the sound effect of when it gets like so deep. It's like, I don't know if you guys have seen the memes, but if you haven't, oh, they're gonna be arriving very, very soon.
The Alchemex building collapses, raining rubble all over the city, and the Ford leap into action. Privateer sees Gayatri on a double-decker bus on the bridge, recalling MCU Peter Parker's girlfriend MJ in a double-decker bus on Tower Bridge in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah, but at least that one was
Everyone
close.
ends up getting saved. It's an awesome scene, but Miles disrupting the canon event of Inspector Singh's death causes dark matter to consume the city. Jessica Drew arrives with the team to contain it. She takes the rest back to Nueva York, Earth
That has to
98,
suck.
Spider
You have to
Society
literally
HQ.
witness
And I just love the reveal
someone
that
that
eventually it's all upside down with Miles
that
and
is
the rest
part
on
of
the
your
bottom
life
side of the
die.
elevator lift. It's an interesting directional inversion of that great moment
Hold
in the
on.
2018 film where Miles dives, but they invert the shot to make it look like a triumphant rise. Here it's the opposite. Miles is technically rising and going up the skyscraper, but because he's upside down, it feels like a descent into hell, because this is not a good place where Miles is going. But hey, we get to meet a ton of spider things. The animators say they created
lobby. Basically, it's the lobby.
280 spider people for this movie.
Hold on.
Or so, but the majority of ones in this HQ are really just non-specific variants of different shapes and suit designs. I'm just going to cover the specific references to ones known from the comics and other media. So as they arrive, we meet Malala Windsor, Spider UK from Earth 835. She's voiced by Sophia Barclay. She says, "Anyone spot the spot?" And Jess gets annoyed and asks if anyone else's jokes, and we see yellow text boxes showing everyone else's jokes. See Spot run? X marks the weird
Well,
bad guy.
they're all
Did he say
Spider-Mans.
quip or
They're all
quip?
gonna
We need
think
to run a spot
like
check.
Spider-Man.
He could be in any hole in the world. Puns are my weak spot. He's probably hiding in some hole in the wall. Hey, way to put us on the spot, mate. This search is starting to peter out. I hate it. And as the camera glides through the main hall,
They're all
you
spider
pass
people.
the
They
black and
know.
yellow Spider Armor Mark II sitting on the left there. Then a steampunky looking one with these extra appendages. This is Maybelle Riley, Lady Spider from Earth 803.
Fire.
There's a traffic cop Spider-Man. And then there's a
Goofy.
bombastic Bagman. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Then on the
Goofy.
walkway, Miles passes the Spider Armor Mark III, and then they pass Peter Parked Car.
That was
of
crazy
Earth
that there's a
53931,
car
and
version
then
of
dropping
Spider-Man.
into him Spider Side of Earth 616. This is a thick
Spider
boy clone
Side?
of 616 Peter. Also, the Last Stand Peter Parker of Earth 312500. This is the Peter with a high collar jacket who gets killed in the Last Stand run and exists alongside
Damn.
Ezekiel Sims. Then Peter of Earth 13122. That's the Lego universe that we saw earlier.
The
You can
Lego
actually
was
see
in
the little
there?
Lego man sitting on top of the windshield there. And then Tarantula of Earth 1610A. 16A being the side universe to Miles' universe of 1610. Then they meet the moody and dramatic Ben Riley,
Ben
Spider-Man,
Riley.
aka the Scarlet Spider.
I didn't
from
know he was
Earth
so
94,
moody.
Voiced by Andy Samberg. It's mentioned here that he's a clone because yes, he is from the Clone Saga, and yes, he's got a lot of baggage. Then they meet the
Ha.
Web Slinger, a cowboy Spider-Man from Earth
This one was fire.
31913,
The
voiced
guns
by Taron
with
Killam,
webs.
and his horse Widow, who's also in a mask. Lila takes him on the tour of all the multiversal
Oh,
anomaly
here we go.
villains who have been captured. She mentions several
The
Doc
big
Ocks,
Easter egg.
a Mysterio, also a Mysterio, and then a video game guy section. In between them is the Insomniac Spider-Man.
Yes, like when I saw this, like, bro, that's the freaking PS4 Spider-Man. He's like, wait, are you talking to me?
Of Earth 1048. That's the universe of the PS4 games. And he asks, "Are you talking to me?"
Yeah.
It's the voice of Yuri Lowenthal, who voices Peter in those Insomniac games. There's an interesting villain named Typeface who says, "Go to Helvetica." In the 2018 movie, they changed all the New York City public transit signs from the Helvetica typeface that had sit in the real world to Arial, which Microsoft introduced in the early 90s as an alternative
Did
to
not know
Helvetica.
that.
So this might just be an inside joke with these animators. They might just really hate Helvetica and prefer Arial. And I can tell you, as someone who writes all my scripts in Arial for YouTube, Arial is much nicer because it takes up less space on the page. So that might be it.
Oh.
Then Lila mentions an
That's why they
interesting
want it.
Raven, a boring Rhino, and then, oh my god, a Prowler, a cameo by Donald Glover.
Yes, dude. This is such an old, what's it called? Time coming. Like it's old because it came from Homecoming, where we saw the investigation that Spider-Man was giving to Uncle Aaron, saying, like, oh, like I'm just here, I'm not doing anything wrong, like you're literally stealing. It's like, so can you help me out with this whole deal? Like, you steal stuff, so you might know some things around the world from other criminals. It's like, yeah, and then at the end there's a post-credit scene supposedly that came out of this one saying that he has a phone call, but it's from Miles from that universe saying, sorry Miles, I'm gonna be a little bit late, yeah, and all that. And it's like, wait, Uncle Aaron and Miles, and then seeing the Into the Spider-Verse, seeing that Uncle Aaron's the Prowler, so coincidence? He became Prowler there?
In live action, Hobie claims he was the one who caught him himself, and Glover says, I slipped. Remember, Glover played Aaron Davis in the live action MCU in Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017, and in that movie he referenced having a nephew who lives in that area, and in a deleted scene calls him Miles. Glover also cameoed in the 2018 Spider-Verse film from his scene in NBC's Community when Troy wears Spider-Man PJs. It's possible that this could be the same Aaron from the MCU just years after Homecoming. It is just wild to see a live action character sharing the screen with animated ones like Mary Poppins or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it increases the likelihood that this series in the next movie may introduce a live-action Miles Morales who will be in the MCU.
Just think, a live-action Miles. We would get the live-action that we will be asking for. Honestly, Tom Holland, I guess with this run, I think it's gonna be done, and they just gave us that suit where he has like all classic colors, like it shows in my shirt, but I'm assuming that now it's time that we get more, what's it called, a Miles live action one. Because I feel like with the Venom powers that he has, that would be freaking sick. The fights that he would have with the villains that would come out of here. Like yes, we know Spider-Man with all the villains. We have Chameleon, we have Hammerhead, we have Tombstone, we have Lizard, Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, but in the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, there were different, unique villains. I want that.
And in the Sonyverse, Miles meets Margot Kess, aka Spider-Bite from Earth 22191, voiced by Amanda Seyfried.
Which is VR.
She is a digital avatar, and her physical body is back at home, where she has a poster, We Are Incognito, with a Guy Fawkes logo, an alternate version of the hacker group Anonymous. All these anomalies are sent to the Go Home machine, which comes back later, but Margot states here that it's based on DNA, which is important. On their way in to see Miguel, Hobie rips a piece of tech out of the wall, joking, I bet this doesn't do anything, but it sets up how later he's able to engineer his own multiverse watch for Gwen,
which is crazy.
But notice as they continue to walk through, he
the
keeps
Rebel,
swiping more and more stuff to use for it. Around Miguel's lab are futuristic versions of tech from villains Miguel has defeated by the year 2099, including the claw of a Prowler, the arms of Doc Ock, and the glider of Green Goblin, showing how he must use scraps of their tech to continue building his technology. Miles tries to connect with Miguel.
Well, I mean, it is the future, 2099, so
space, and he responds
he would be very smart.
Technical Spanish than Miles' folksier Puerto Rican Brooklyn slang. Peter B. Parker returns along with his new baby daughter Mayday Parker, who has a baby day pass, telling.
But I love the, what's it called, there's another meme that's coming out of this one, and it's the Monster versus Aliens, and it's the jelly monster saying Peter Parker showcasing his daughter to everyone, even to Miguel, even though he has PTSD. He's like literally going like that. It's like, bro, he was literally that meme where he's literally showcasing it in front of the faces of everyone. It was like, bro, it's so funny.
And that's that Jessica Drew gave Miles a wristband that's normally for babies. So Miguel launches into his big explanation, first depicting all of reality as a glowing white vine with branches, imagery that I think is made to look just like the sacred timeline of the MCU, which split into a multiverse at the end of Loki and is now a messy web, last seen in the post-credit scene of Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania. It's clear that this movie is trying to establish the animated Spider-Verse as part of the live-action Marvel multiverse.
Everything is just part of it.
This white vine,
everything,
red lasers beam
anywhere,
out to represent the Spider-Verse. Miguel O'Hara refers to this as the web of life and destiny, which is the term of the comics, or as he says here, arachno-humanoid polymultiverse. The nodes represent canon events, and in the first one, we see 6 different comics moments when a spider bite occurred, including an early one where Peter's wearing the yellow vest. Behind that, to the right, are various moments Peter and MJ connect, including Kirsten Dunst, Mary Jane, kissing Tobey Maguire.
Oh yeah,
Peter
the live-action moments, which were freaking awesome. I definitely love that.
That Miguel refers to as very, very
the
bad,
Venom
shows 6 moments the Venom symbiote overtook Eddie Brock in the comics. It's fascinating that Miguel categorizes the the creation of Venom as a canon event in the life of every Spider person. To me, this kind of feels like Sony's trying to make Venom as important as possible to their Spider-Verse franchise.
Because
Also
Venom
kinda
is
weird
coming.
Because their 2 Venom movies so far removed the Spider-Man step from the Venom origin. But going forward, the implication here seems to be that every Peter, Miles, Gwen, or whoever will spawn a symbiote-enriched rival that will plague their lives. Then
The Spider-Man 2 game. The Spider-Man 2. If they're talking about like in every circumstance there's gonna be a symbiote fight, Spider-Man 2 PS5 that's coming up, because we saw the symbiote Spider-Man and Miles is gonna have to fight with him one in that game. I'm already going with that before it becomes Venom. Dude, I'm losing
what
it.
I'm gonna call Death Alley. All the mentor figures that the Spider people have lost. Miles is a projection of his loss of Uncle Aaron from the first film, and Miguel singles out what he calls Event ASM 90, which is a nod to the Amazing Spider-Man number 90, in which George Stacy goes to save a kid. We actually see the same comics art of those panels here during Spider-Man's fight with Doc Ock that ends up taking George's life. I believe it's 31 issues after this. Amazing Spider-Man 121. That is the death of Gwen Stacy, his daughter. Miles turns over to a parallel moment, a projection of Andrew freaking Garfield, Peter Parker, crying
Because they
over the body
wanted to
of Dennis
give
Leary,
him
Captain
the
Stacy
goat.
from 2012's Amazing Spider-Man film,
Give the
when
goat
George
the
was
flowers.
killed by Rhys Ifans' version of the Lizard, Dr. Connors. And again, since all these Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield moments connect to the MCU by association, this animated Spider-Man film is giving us a codified understanding of how the Spider-Verse is all connected, including to the MCU. Miguel confesses that he tried to bypass a canon event of his variant's death in a reality so that he could be happy in a reality with his daughter Gabriella, but eventually that reality erased around him. This may remind you of the logic of what's called absolute points in What If Episode 4 over in the Marvel world, but it just sounds like different terms for the same kind of idea. Peter B. Parker explains the necessary loss of Uncle Ben, and in one node portal, we see Cliff Robertson, Uncle Ben, dying from the 2002 Sam Raimi film, and Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker crying over him. But to the right of that is the animated Spectacular Spider-Man.
Spectacular Spider-Man got reference.
His Uncle Ben died, and then on the far right is Uncle Ben's death from the cutscene of the PS4 game. Josh Keaton actually joins the other Spider people in this intervention, saying, "I know it's hard, but it's the truth, Miles." When Miguel traps Miles in this red energy field, Hobie holds out his hand's palms, calling back his advice to Miles back in Manhattan to use the palms instead of the fingertips. And so when Miles listens to him,
what's it called? The
blasts
Venom.
out of the cage, and all the other Spider people chase after him, Hobie's like, "Nah, I'm out," and he leaves back through a portal and tosses his watch behind.
Because he's
So
the
if you
rebel.
Look ahead in Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. Hobie Brown is a very important character and a potential mentor to Miles Morales that none of the other characters are.
You gotta live
Miguel
free.
alerts Spider Society.
He's like,
in
you
his
gotta live
cafeteria.
free, but
One of them's
also
reading
you
a
gotta be
newspaper
smart
with an opinion
with your
page
choices that you
headline,
make.
"Are cats man's best friend?" They all break into groups of 3, recreating
Is
the
you?
pointing
Is it you?
meme from
Is
the
it you?
post-credit scene of the 2018 film, which of course was repeated in the live-action Spider-Man No Way Home. I just love the idea that 3 is kind of a magic number for these Spider people to
3 is
stump
the
them
magic
into
number.
confusion like this. The group closest to us includes the white logo PS4 game Advanced Suit Spider-Man, and next to him
Sick.
is Spider-Man Unlimited from the late
Unlimited.
90s animated series. And then entering Sector 4 is this dude.
Do I have web on my face? What's the deal?
This is Spider-Man 2211, aka Max Bourne from Earth
Max
9500,
Bourne.
an associate of Miguel O'Hara in the 90s comics.
Is
And
he,
Miles clings to his back, kind of like Aladdin
Jason
does
Bourne?
with that bodybuilder when he flees the guards in the chase sequence of that movie. He falls down, and they're piling onto him like white blood cells. One of them, definitely the gray armored Spider Armor Mark 1. And then
Damn.
Spider Cat, who coughs up
The
a
Spider
web
Cat.
furball on
Yeah.
his face. And notice how Spider Cat's gizmo is latched to its tail. Miles says,
This ain't get any damn weirder.
The
which is a callback
T-Rex.
to Peter B. Parker when they meet the other 3 eccentric Spider people in the 2018 film.
This could literally not get any weirder.
It can get weird.
I'm Peter
And then there's
Parker.
Petarker, aka Spider Rex. When he whips,
That
it's
was
Chibi
sick.
Whip. Miles gets hit by Chibi Spider-Man. The
That one that my brother
and
was
then
saying
by
Chibi
Spider
was in
Monkey.
there.
Then the Web Slinger,
A
Cowboy
monkey.
Spider-Man from the Wild West universe and the Ultimate Animated series. He fires bullets from his revolver.
That's
Miles
sick.
and Web Slinger end up in a Clint Eastwood-style duel. The frame goes to a 293-1 aspect
3,
ratio
2.
like it does in Westerns, and Miles gets a quick draw with a thwip. And then we get this moment.
And then I looked at my uncle and
Let me guess. He died.
I love it. On the walls of this therapy office is an ink blot test that, naturally, to us and to all these characters, looks
Spider.
like a spider. There's also a diploma from Ditko University, a nod to Spider-Man
Steve Ditko.
co-creator Steve Ditko, and it names this therapist Spider-Man Ezekiel Sims, who is the old man Spider-Man from the comics. So since he's the oldest of them, he probably is the wisest and has the most therapeutic wisdom to be able to give them. Peter B. Parker
I did not
asks
know that.
Miguel to take a photo of he and Mayday's first chase together. Miguel blows him off, but Mayday whips the button of the phone to take the selfie. During the chase, Miles slides into the legs of Flash Thompson. pops in Spider-Man, aka Captain Spider. He wears the leather jacket. Miles
He's
swings
doing the
ahead of the
freaking
bombastic Bagman. This is from the comics when Peter gets
crap,
stuck
what
in
is
the
it called?
Fantastic Four's Baxter building and has to borrow one of their suits and wears a brown
Crouching
paper
Crow?
bag over his head to disguise himself. When Miles twists the bag around on his head, you can see the CMYK Ben-Day dots in his outline staying the same size. We also, of course, see Spider-Man from the Mangaverse. Miles pushes him away. Miles gallops on the horse Widow past the anomalies who cheer him on while booing Miguel and the others. Miles takes Webslinger's hat and stuffs it in the face of Spider-Wolf. Then Miles passes Charlotte Weber, the Sun Spider, who has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that affects her joints and connective tissues, so she uses a wheelchair and crutches. She's voiced by Danielle Perez, the 1967 Spider-Man from the
that one
returns from the 2018 movie post-credit scene, voiced by Yorma Tacone. And then Miles runs
he had
through a
no
kind of
purpose,
danger
he was just, like,
room with
swinging.
past villains, the Sinister Six from the 90s animated series. We see Doc Ock, Shocker, Goblin, and the rest. Then Miles dives out of the skyscraper. A cyborg Spider-Woman follows, along with a Canadian Spider-Woman with a hockey stick that Chibi Spider-Man rides. Miles drops into the underworld in the way of New York, and Peter
the
B.
figures
Parker
of
tries
the
to get him to fold
big,
Mayday, saying
beefy
Miles is the
robot
reason
Spider-Man,
he had a kid.
but he
Reminds
never
us of
got
that moment in
anything.
the 2018 film when, remember, Peter B. Parker had split up with his MJ because he didn't want to have kids, but upon meeting Miles and seeing him kick ass, he realized, wait, do I want kids now? Miguel chases Miles on the skybound bullet train, an incredibly animated fight. At one point in Miguel's lunge, a frame flashes from an animated storyboard cell, including some artist notes, Imperial Violet and Crimson Red. This is...
But like what we never got from this was obviously the slam that he got. Like he literally grabs you and literally slams you like on the train. We never got that.
What instructs the artist which ink color
Maybe
to
they
fill in
wanted
the character
to
with.
keep
These shades are the
it-
specific shades of the
but
red
they never
and
did
indigo
that.
for Miguel's suit. You'll notice these kind of lines and notes often hover around Miguel and his tech. I just love how it hints at Miguel at being a tech head and a control freak, constantly trying to upgrade and upkeep his own animation as he repeatedly has to replug his techno-organic suit. This is what Miles uses against Miguel here, placing his palm on his shoulder, overloading the suit, giving him a classic, hey. And then revealing he intentionally lured all the spider people high above the city so that he could just leap off the train back to the base. Peter B. Parker says, I did teach him that, so I feel like a pretty good mentor, referring to when Peter B. Parker in the 2018 film just jumped off the ledge and fell into the collider beam so that he could go home. Miles goes invisible and sneaks past Margot. He scans his DNA and briefly can see the scan reading Earth 42 since it reads the DNA of the spider that bit him. So the Go machine goes to
that's
work.
why
It's
it
a
messes
robot
it
in
up.
the shape of a spider wrapping Miles
'Cause I'm
up
like,
in a
wait,
web of lasers.
did,
Miguel
like, she
tries to
change
pry in,
something,
but
like,
given the
at the
option to
last
reboot the
minute?
system, Margot decides at the last second to just let Miles go home. So Miles tumbles into this red and green Brooklyn where it rains. It's a color scheme that we haven't seen before, so it kind of hits us as really eerie and off, but it bears a similar palette to the 1610
We're gonna see Batman in there.
And Jess go to, making this a
Say,
really
"I am the
effective visual
darkness."
fake out. Back in 616B, Peter and MJ put Mayday to bed, and MJ says there's no playbook on being a parent, you just have to make adjustments at halftime. Which feels like a meta
It's the
nod to
same
this
thing
story's
with
two-part
Spider-Man.
structure. Across the Spider-Verse ends at halftime, Beyond the Spider-Verse being the second half, where Peter and Gwen now have to make adjustments and put some new players on the field. Captain Stacy tells his daughter Gwen that he's quitting being a cop, and he gives her the gadget that Hobie built using tech stolen from Miguel. On the screen it reads Project Bootleg, and for the strap he used a Union Jack pattern band. So Miles swings through Times Square, where all of his villains, past and present, are haunting him. We see the giant hands of the Spot reaching out to him. But in Times Square, if you look closely,
trauma.
you see W and W's instead of M&Ms, and Soca Coca, which is a giveaway that this is not 1610, because remember in his universe, it's Coca Soda instead of Coca-Cola. Ben Reilly camps out outside Miles' room in 1610, but Gwen takes him out, and this is right as we see Miles arriving home, so we naturally just assume it's the same universe.
Yeah, we would have
I love when
assumed
movies
it.
do this. Like my favorite example is Silence of the Lambs, when you think Clarice Starling and the rest of the FBI are at the same house, but then you realize the raid is happening at the wrong place, and Clarice is at Buffalo Bill's house by herself. This also happens in the Fellowship of the Ring, when you think the ring wraiths are about to stab the hobbits in their beds, but they're actually across the street. It always works on me. And the way they tease this out is so well done. Rio asks Miles why he changed his hair. She doesn't remember giving him any advice. Miles, though, has a speed bag by his door now, as in Earth 42. Miles will be more of an aggressive fighter.
That's
so
what I
Earth
didn't
42 Miles'
notice.
room has less toys and posters and more stuff in milk crates. Around the house, there aren't really that many photos of Jeff Morales, just the mother and the son, because it would have been too painful to have too many photos of him around. Miles reveals himself as Spider-Man.
I thought it was like the universe
For a second,
where
we're just like, oh, she's just a mom who doesn't
where
really
the
get it.
Uncle
But no,
Aaron
there
is
no
the new
Spider-Man
dad.
in this universe. Miles demonstrates this just sad little whip, question mark? And there's a great match cut with Gwen standing on the ceiling of Miles' empty room in 1610. Cut to Miles in Earth 42 with his mom, and Miles finally figures it out, and it hits us like a hammer. Uncle Aaron walks through the door, having never
comes
died in this
out.
dimension because there's no Spider-Man, and they go to the rooftop. The city is plagued with crime, on fire, and the worst gut punch, the rooftop mural, in place of the Aaron Memorial, now has
Is
a
now
memorial
his
for
dad.
Jeff Morales. In the upper corners of that mural, Pichelli and Bendis, or Sarah Pichelli and Brian Michael Bendis, creators of the Miles Morales character, character, Miles gets KO'd by his alternate Prowler self before he sees it coming. His spider sense never went off, maybe because he can't sense himself, especially if that variant self doesn't have spider powers. Miles wakes up
That's
tied
crazy.
to
He's like, I can't sense myself, so I can't fight him.
In the 2018 film, and the one Miles tied Peter B. Parker to. Aaron puts on an album, Ain't No Love by A Lion Unleashed, featuring Bobby Blue Band. Aaron punches a bag, releasing a blast of CMYK dots, like all the ink was slammed out of it. We briefly hear the voice of J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, reporting crime from the TV as
he's
a younger
everywhere.
Prowler steps forward, Miles G. Morales, whose hair is braided, the same one we saw back in the Spot's backstory of the spider that left Earth 42.
So basically, like, go back.
His hair is braided, the same one we saw.
Basically, like, you could say this was the work in progress, that if it actually did happen, it would have been colored. Like, the whole concept of it would have been painted, being saying it actually happened. But since it didn't happen, it's black and white.
The spider that left Earth 42.
It's a work in progress.
Lit red on one side, blue on the other, mixing in the middle as Prowler purple. His fingertip manages to produce a small spark on the chain, but he doesn't have his full palm free. Meanwhile, Gwen reunites with Peter B. Parker in Mayday,
and everyone is joining.
We see the new band that she has put together, including Gwen, Peter B. Parker, Mayday, Hobie Brown, Privateer Prabhakar, Margot Kess Spider Bite, and returning from the first film, but not saying anything, Penny Parker, Spider Ham, and Spider-Man Noir. And we end with Gwen asking the way it did. From Gwen's point of view, a third-person account of what Miles went through, telling us why she quit her band, saying let's do things differently this time, and why the opening images included things that happened to Miles throughout the film. This was all Gwen's sales pitch, her recruiting mission, what she said to every single one of these spider people to get her to join her team, to join this rescue mission, and this great step to defy
his sad story.
So yeah,
it's like,
we
help us out with the sad
go
story.
ahead and take my money for Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse next year. Holy shit, what a cliffhanger and what a film. Please support our growing network.
Yeah, like, that's why they said we're not gonna give you a post-credit scene or an end-credit scene, and people were still waiting in the theater. They're like saying, oh my gosh, dude, like, I literally said, let's go, like, there's gonna be no post-credit scene. They literally said it, like, in the website. Like, I literally watched it premiere day, which was Friday, and when it said, oh, like, Miles will be back in Beyond the Spider-Verse, and then people were like, are you serious? It's like, bro, they literally said it. You were given time. Like, we're in the age of technology. How the hell do you freaking forget about that? I was like, oh gosh, dude. But they also gave another one, which...
Boss, and I know, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse included Miles' roommate Genki Lee playing the real-life upcoming Spider-Man 2 game.
I told you, it was the freaking next game. Oh my gosh.
One of 50 additional details and Easter eggs I did not include in my massive breakdown of the film that I am now going to share with you after yet another rewatch of this amazing film. Spoiler warning, and let's do this one last time. Real quick, I did break down the 2018 film for dozens of new details, and I hosted a live stream of Across the Spider-Verse on the Deep Dive channel. Subscribe and support us with a Miles Morales Multiverse Dive shirt at nerdriot.shop. In case you missed it, New Rockstars isn't just one channel anymore, it's 3! Earlier this year, we launched The Room is Full and videos planned for the Deep Dive. This is a running joke with Lord and Miller films since 22 Jump Street, when a cough was audible in the opening seconds, and they added a cough to the 2018 Into the Spider-Verse film if you listen closely. Detail number 2, a dolphin sound effect can be heard over the Lord and Miller logo. Another running joke from these guys from Clone High when they put that sound effect in everything, the Lego movie, and yes, the opening cards of the 2018 Spider-Verse film. Detail 3, one of the shirts Earth 65 Peter wears, along with that Halloween lizard costume, is the same polo that Peter Parker wears in the 90s animated series.
Oh, that could indicate that it's from the 90s.
Detail 4, in Miles' recap, he talks about a baby powder sponsorship deal, which is a callback to Peter B. Parker in the 2018 film recommending baby powder in the suit. And we see Miles' YouTube apology video. It gets 11 million views, yet somehow 69 million downvotes.
Because the fact that when it comes to an apology video, it always turns out terrible. That's why.
69. And this comment, I heard it was made from actual babies though, for real. Detail 5, in Miles' fantasy, when he reveals himself to his parents, I love how they throw the couch in the air and it never comes back down because it's fantasy. Detail 6, bagels are everywhere in this movie, reflecting their importance to the Spot's origin from the 2018 movie, that amazing moment, and of course the Everything Everywhere All at Once, everything bagel symbol. But bagels are also in the pastry case in the bodega. A bagel also follows Miles and Jonathan Owen through a portal, and in the Spider Society cafeteria, a lot of people are eating bagels. Detail number 7, in the ATM, the $100 bills are not Benjamin Franklin's. I now realize they're actually Alan Hawkins, Sony's animation supervisor. Detail 8, Miles' dad was named Jeff Davis in the 2018 movie and in the comics, but if you look at his badge in this movie, they have updated his name to Jeff Morales, meaning he took his wife's surname. Now, the comics go into why Jeff and Rio decided to give Miles Rio's surname of Morales. Basically, Jeff didn't want Miles to have his father's last name. Detail 9, when Miles is late, Jeff says, I see bubbles on the phone, referring to to the 3 dots on the text feed, but it's also literally the soap suds that Miles is covered in this moment.
Because he's in bubbles.
When Miles returns to his dorm room, he waits for pigeons to fly past like a jogger waiting for traffic at an intersection.
Because he didn't want to get hit again
After running into pigeons and sticking to all of them in the first movie.
Yeah.
Detail 11, yes, Genki Lee is playing the Spider-Man 2 upcoming video game. When Miles enters the room, that lucky kid gets the game early. 12, on
yes,
Genki's wall
he got the
is a
game
poster
early
for soccer
from
player
everyone.
Hyung-Min Son, known for doing a Spider-Man
My brother
celebration
who
whenever he scores.
referenced
He's
this
also apparently
because
friends with Tom Holland. 13,
he, what's it
Miles
called,
jokes about buying 2 cakes as kind of a life hack,
he's a
but
soccer fan
buying
now?
2 cakes later screws him over because he can't whip with both of them in his hands. Just a fun way of showing Miles trying to juggle 2 parts of his life. 14, when Jeff follows Miles and Spot to the Alchemix site, he faces a leap of faith into a portal, but then he wusses out and takes the stairs, just like Miles initially did with his jump test in the 2018 film. 15, the Spot reveals that the number 42 spider came from an alternate dimension, Earth 42, and I love how they foreshadowed this in the first movie by having the spider glitch in that movie because the spider was in the wrong reality. 16, for the Spot's design, VFX supervisor Mike Lasker said that as the Spot evolves throughout the movie, his ink spots get more and more active and busier, and they have just more personality.
But like, what I don't understand about this is the fact that like that if he's collecting, why is he doing that? Like, if he knows that it's gonna screw up something, that's crazy.
They pop off his body.
Because like he's literally stealing stuff from
he says,
other universes.
He's like a ninja vampire Spider-Man, but a good guy.
A vampire good guy. I'd pay good money to see that.
He says, a vampire good guy, I'd pay good money to see that. A meta nod to Morbius, good guy vampire that Sony hoped we'd pay good money to see. Twice. 18, Miles tells my favorite character in the movie to stop licking the window, and it's kind of a callback to when he put his mouth on Aaron's window back in 2018. 19, when we first see the Spot's apartment, beneath that Everything Everywhere All at Once reference billboard is a sign, 1917, 1610616, 1610, Miles Universe, 616, the main Marvel Universe, 1917, I don't know, maybe not to the Sam Mendes movie. 20, and my favorite shot of the movie, Gwen walks upside down on that bank building, and the sunset flare disappears and then reappears upon the rotation. It's so beautifully designed. Everything in the
aesthetics
scene.
were amazing in this
detail
movie.
here, Gwen and Miles sit upside down by whipping the underside of the overhang, and then as they sit, their hands and legs must be sticky. They got sticky butts. 22, as they hang upside down, you can see gravity tugging their eyebrows, their cheeks, and their foreheads upward. 23, on the way to Jonathan Owen's place, there is a sign in the background, Soda. It's a generic brand. 24, Paviter Prabhakar's acrobatic movement and the way he flattens his feet as he moves is based on, and I'm gonna mispronounce this, I'm so sorry, Kalari Payattu. It's a 2,000-year-old martial art from the Indian region of Kerala. One of the oldest known martial arts still practiced in the present day on Earth. 25,
Yo.
I already talked about how Hobie Brown's body
That's
was
sick.
animated with a lower frame rate, but it's actually different parts of his body. Like his body was animated on 3s with his vest slightly offset. His guitar is animated on
just slow.
4s, so that
He's just
we
a
see
slow
each
character
individual
moving
part
around.
of him strumming it
Like
as
you
a
can't
rock
see him
star
move
pose,
too fast.
and his general outline is actually animated on 2s, the way Miles was at the beginning of the 2018 film. So they separated different parts of his body for an overall anarchic punk rock aesthetic. June is when summer heats up, and if you want to keep cool, minimize your time in the kitchen with Factor. Factor's fresh,
there's already a ad in this as well?
Turf, that's not tracky. So it's at 50, use code beside the PS4 Spidey is the Green Goblin from the 1982 Spider-Man Atari game. 27, as Hobie steals stuff from around Miguel's lab.
Bro,
in the
he's just
background, Miguel
pixels.
is actually
You can't
building
see it.
his red and white 2099 suit from the game. 28, when Miles explains canon events in the notes for the Venom event, one of the wedges is actually Tobey Maguire Peter Parker when he pulled the symbiote off himself in the 2007 film. 29, Canadian Spider-Woman. According to production designer Patrick O'Keefe, they got her look from the 1972 Summit Series hockey jersey. 30, one of the Spideys who chases Miles is the Spider-Man popsicle that we saw at the beginning of the first movie.
What? Bro, there's a popsicle that's sentient? Oh gosh, then I gotta stop eating the popsicles then.
31, in that cafeteria, they also serve Miguel O'Hara branded hamburgers. 32, 1967 Spider-Man tries to grab Miles, but he misses him. Why? Because 67 Spidey is in 2D animation and he flies right past him. 33, composer Metro Boomin cameos as one of the Spider people.
There's nowhere to run.
Oh yeah.
My bad, everybody. There was somewhere to run.
34, also some of the
forgot about
Spideys
that.
are based on vintage Mexican wrestler toys. 35, the 90s animated Sinister Six in the training room. We already talked about, but the Doc Ock says, "Hello, Peter," which is audio of Alfred Molina's Doc Ock in Spider-Man No Way Home. 36, on the train as it flies towards the moon, Miles glitches, and for a frame, you can see his DIY suit from the first movie bought from Stan Lee's costume shop. 37, when Miles swings through Earth 42, there are some Sinister Six cartel red flags if you look closely. signs for Vulture Telecom and Electro 2G cell service. And then on the rooftop later,
Well,
signs for
everyone.
Hammerhead and Scorpio,
Everyone is there.
which might be an alternate universe Oz Corp. 38, W&W's alternate M&Ms also have the colors reversed from the normal colors of the regular versus peanut ones. 39,
That's
instead
crazy.
of Forever 21, there's Never,
Never
21.
21.
How low is the life expectancy of this place? 40, when Peter B. Parker puts Mayday to sleep, she wears Spider Ham pajamas. 41, when Gwen goes to get Peter B. Parker, her wrist gadget reads 616B.
Peter really loved the
retcon for
wackiness
first
of
movie that
Spider-
labeled his universe
Spider
just
Ham.
616 because they don't want to say it is the main 616. 42, Miles' coat and hoodie in Earth 42 are green and purple instead of red and blue from his 1610. Green and purple being the color of Miles' aura in the 2018 film, right before Peter saw the red and blue in him and altered his life trajectory. Also important to note that Aaron's apartment is red and blue, which leads to my theory that I talked about in another video that these guys might actually be good guys. 43, Rio has
They're
green
vigilantes.
eyes in Earth
They're basically
42
Batmans.
instead of her normal brown. Could just be the lighting of this room. 44, there's also a sketch of the Prowler Claw in Earth 42 Miles' bedroom. And 45, Miles' poster above his bed is Oshami on a green background instead of sashimi on red, as it is in his bedroom in 1610. 46, Rio asks, do you shoot webs out of your culito, which is Spanish for little butt? And Miles says, I had a nightmare about that once, but no. And since this is connected to the
Just
multiverse
fart
logic of
and
the
then
MCU, there is that multiverse of
ugh.
madness dream walking rule might apply here, in which dreams are technically you peering into your life into your alternate universe self. And both America Chavez and MCU Peter Parker have speculated about alternate Spider-Man maybe shooting webs out of their butts. So there is one out there that does this. 47, on the roof,
I don't
Aaron's
want to
phone
know
lights
about
up
that.
as he
That's
side-eyes
disgusting.
Miles, a detail showing that 42 Miles had texted him that he was on his way. 48, in the 2018 film, we saw Miles going from having his shoes untied to tying his shoes by the end of the movie to show his evolution, his maturity. But now, when he's tied up to Aaron's punching bag, he's back to his shoes being untied. 49, while 1610 Miles famously wears Air Jordan 1s with the red and white colors and the black swoosh, Earth 42 Miles wears Nike Airs with alternate black colors.
Those look
and
fire.
50, when Gwen has her emotional speech with her dad, the mood ring watercolor background rains down in
Emotions.
these specific stripes: blue, pink, white,
Oh.
pink, and blue, which makes the transgender flag.
Yes.
Also on her dad's uniform,
But
his
people
patch shows
made
the trans flag,
such
and I
a
already mentioned
freaking
how
big
Gwen's room
deal.
is the
It's
Protect
just a
Trans Kids
movie.
sign. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just saying these animators use color in this really cool way to show how difficult it can be for kids to reveal themselves to their parents. And now, for all these kids out there, you're not alone. Hey, a reminder to subscribe to our new channel,
you
The
go,
Deep
see?
Dive. You can support us by grabbing some merch at nerdride.shop. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at
All right, that was it. This is a freaking long video. Obviously, it's gonna be like an hour, but I'm gonna have to edit it because stuff happened. And honestly, that's amazing. Like the fact of this movie was fire in itself. Like I loved everything about it. Like everything was so amazing out of this whole movie, and I cannot wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse, which they're apparently saying that we could expect it March of next year. And damn, I'm freaking excited. Let's go.